Good evening. Welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Adil Ray. In the news this week, at a photo opportunity in the Midlands, Boris Johnson puts on a brave face after screwing his left foot to a plank of wood. In Newcastle, after another surge in cases, students complain that the new isolation measures are a little too harsh. And as he goes on another drive to prove that he's still alive, there's concern that Donald Trump shouldn't have had the second bleach injection. On Ian's team tonight is a comedian from North Wales. We're very lucky to have her, not because she's always busy, but because she's the only Welsh person currently allowed out of the house. Please welcome Kiri Pritchard-McLean. And with Paul tonight is a former Minister of Education. Of course, that was before the government decided to replace that post with an algorithm that makes children cry by crushing their dreams. Please welcome Nicky Morgan. Now, we begin with the bigger news stories of the week. Paul and Nicky, take a look at this.
Yes. There's our fearless leader, Boris Johnson.
He's arriving for his party conference speech to an empty room.
Nicky, you know this man, don't you? I think he's
do.
made you Baron, hasn't he? Baroness. I think Baroness.
Unless it's something I don't know, Paul, yeah.
No, yeah, and he's been doing something. Has he been doing something?
He's been trying to do something. Yes, this is Boris Johnson's attempt to be upbeat in the face of endless barrage of misery, doom and incompetence. He was speaking at a virtual Conservative Party conference this week. Did you see the virtual conference room? Anyway?
No.
It's an amazing virtual world. You could wander around like a really exciting video game. And there's like a foyer where you could have virtual chats with people. Amazing. And even better, you could look at the picture of Dominic Raab saying, "Let's grasp the tremendous."
What does that mean?
I don't know. Has anyone ever grasped his tremendous? I don't know.
I like the idea of a virtual conference, though, with virtual policies and virtually no one there and virtually no ideas.
Now, why are you looking at me? I was going to say, this is...
You're the only one of us who I'm guessing would be interested in this.
The thing about the conference, they're showing the wrong rooms, because the room that is packed at party conference is the main hotel bar at all times of the day and night. Sometimes even...
What, including this year?
Well, no, not this year. Not this year. That is very true.
But this year, they had to go online, and it didn't work.
Depends what you mean by work, Paul, in the sense of, did the speeches get delivered?
Well, Ian, for a start.
So what's wrong with the name, Paul?
Nothing's wrong with it. I was just remembering that detail isn't this government's strong point.
Mind-blowing though it was, the virtual conference couldn't really reproduce the thrills of a real conference like this one in 2017, when Matt Hancock decided to give the extraordinary live performance.
Can I congratulate you on stopping it there?
Yeah.
I'm just imagining the bit before that where Matt Hancock is saying, testing, testing, and nothing happens.
What does Boris Johnson want the UK to do?
He wants us to be like Saudi Arabia. He wants us to be wearing masks and staying inside.
Well, he wants the UK to become the Saudi Arabia of wind.
Oh, of course. Yeah, how silly of me.
Just thought, there's a fartwart joke in there somewhere, isn't there?
Well, there's a very massive hot air joke for a conference.
Boris Johnson was hit by the familiar accusation of there being no detail in his speech. But is it that important for the Prime Minister to know all the details, though? Is it that important?
For a minute there, I thought you were going to say he was hit by the usual accusation of what you're doing in my wife's bedroom. It wasn't that, so I withdraw my remark.
It's an odd question. Of course the Prime Minister's meant to know something.
Yeah.
I mean, not all of it, maybe not much of it, but just bits would be good.
Well, look, let's have a look at him in action, shall we? Here's what happens if you ask for detail on hospital spending in Leeds.
So how much are you spending in Leeds?
And there will be a stream of funding over the next 4 or 5 years.
But how much will Leeds get? Can you tell us?
Leeds, I can tell you that Leeds General Hospital, Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust is getting centralising the children's and adult service at Leeds General with pathology services at St James and University Hospital Trust and the University. It will be a big investment in Leeds Hospital. I can't give you the.
Okay.
Give me the number, somebody. Who's got the number for Leeds? Give me the number for Leeds.
There's only 2 objects in that picture, and only one of them is bright. But isn't this not perhaps long COVID? Because they say, don't they, the people who've had it, and he had it very seriously, as we remember, do suffer from sort of like, memory lapses and...
Failure to concentrate, inability to grasp detail.
Yes.
No, that was before he had it.
Oh, was it?
Here's an interesting fact. According to Boris Johnson, which is the only country in Europe to have more fat people than the UK?
Is it ironically Finland? First time I've ever gotten a round of applause on Finland. Thank you very much.
Apparently it's Malta.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. How do you make a Maltese cross? Take his pie off him.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson also said in his speech that Uncle Sugar won't pay for everything. Who's Uncle Sugar?
Oh, does he mean sugar daddy?
Apparently he meant the nanny state, but he could have been talking about Rishi Sunak, of course, right?
Ah.
Yeah, OK. What has Rishi said about his political ambitions recently? He's actually said that he definitely doesn't want the PM's job. Nikki, will you back Rishi's coup against the Prime Minister?
I think that's what you might call a leading question.
Yes, it is a leading question. I'd quite like an answer.
No. Rishi says he's not interested in the job. I think we have a Prime Minister doing the job at the moment, and we will have to see, obviously, at some point, what happens in the future of the Conservative Party.
Conservative MPs are revolting, though, Nikki. Over what, exactly?
This is over the 10 p.m. curfew.
Yes.
Amongst other things, actually. It's quite a rebellious parliamentary party at the moment. But the 10 p.m. curfew in particular, I think they have a lot of very unhappy publicans in their constituencies.
What do we think of the 10 p.m. curfew? How's it affected you, Ian, this temp?
Me? Oh, well, I'm gutted. I'm just halfway to getting completely bladdered. And then, out I go onto the pavement. The whole thing's a nightmare.
What do you think they should do?
The government says there's some science behind throwing everyone out at the same time. And other people say maybe there isn't. Keir Starmer's very keen that we should see the science.
At one point, they were joined by Keir Starmer. He said that they need these scientific arguments, and that's what he was looking for. Nick, he's really good, isn't he, Keir Starmer?
That would be another leading question, Adil, yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's what's going on. Yeah. But he is very good, isn't
Well, I don't think he can quite decide exactly what he thinks at the moment. I mean, the Prime Minister also gave him a new nickname, didn't he? He's called him Captain Hindsight.
But he's still very good, though, isn't he?
Yeah, I think these political interrogation techniques are going to have to be honed a little bit more.
We can just edit Nikki at the yeah. Should we yeah.
Whereas no one has yet called Boris Captain Foresight, have they?
I'm not going there with names.
Among all their many problems, what was the last thing the government wanted to happen?
The test and trace to go wrong.
I think you're absolutely right. 16,000 positive test results went missing, meaning 50,000 contacts of those people were neither tracked nor traced.
I mean, it's a remarkable achievement. You spend £12 billion and then you have an Excel sheet that fails. Nobody has ever spent more money on anything ever, really, than this testing, tracing, tracking system, and it just doesn't work. Yet again, Matt Hancock comes out and says it's a glitch. I mean, that isn't the word. It's a monumental error. Whoever they give it to, whichever friend picks up the contract for however much money, it just doesn't work. And then it didn't work again this week. And people, they're fairly fed up. I mean, and this isn't, just in case the Director General's still watching, I'm quoting from the Telegraph this morning. It's not a political issue, it's just being useless.
How did an official at Public Health England explain it? It was down to a combination of human error and IT. That is, a human using IT. It's fundamentally an IT error, but there is a bit of human error involved in this too. Yes, it was a spreadsheet error. Public Health England were using an Excel spreadsheet tool, but it was a version from 2007. You can only input 65,000 rows of data, and after that, the extra numbers just fall off the edge. Now, spreadsheets are rife in the commercial world. Anyone got examples of this? Your top 10 spreadsheet blunders, anyone?
Can I tell you one? I could be listing my sexual partners in there and their contact details, so if anything happens, I can contact them more quickly.
And has this spreadsheet crashed because there's too much information?
This is Boris's speech to the virtual party conference. Boris told conference he had lost nearly 2 stone in recent months. Here's the Prime Minister before COVID, and here's the Prime Minister after COVID. Ian and Kiri, take a look at this.
That's a mask.
First time you've seen one.
Yeah, you guys are getting it, all of you.
Yeah.
All of you. And they applaud. Great. It's a privilege, sir. Oh, it's the American Health Service. The mask comes off.
Here comes Wince.
Off.
Yeah. Doesn't look well there, does he?
No. It's a funny colour. He called his diagnosis a blessing from God, and it's the first time I've ever agreed with him on anything.
Trump does like to be the best at everything. So he succeeded. He literally is the best super spreader we have on record. I mean, he's given it to more people than most countries now.
The poor guy that had to drive him in that car. Trump is meant to be the master of the, the publicity shot and whatever, but when I see a dark black car driving very slowly down a street, I often feel quite sorry for the occupant in the back. It looked like a rehearsal, really, didn't it?
Yes, this is Donald Trump, who was hospitalised after contracting coronavirus. This was last week. Doctors injected Trump with a potentially lethal cocktail of experimental and untested drugs, but somehow he pulled through.
He's on certain drugs which are hiding the symptoms, potentially masking the symptoms, so we don't know where he's going to be on Monday, 2 days after this goes out, or the same night as the repeat. If we're wearing black armbands on the repeat, you'll know what's happening.
Yeah, he's still with us.
The news was announced, and the sort of mood and getting the idea of what it was like in the White House. One source told the New York Magazine, at the best of times, Trump world operates with all the strategic direction of a chicken with its head cut off. But right now, they're operating like a chicken with its head cut off, lit on fire, and thrown off a cliff.
Is that what we get instead of bonfire night this year?
It's quite unbelievable. There's now at least 34 people at the White House who have tested positive. Many of the people who tested positive attended a gathering at the White House Rose Garden on the 26th of September for the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Here they are at the event. And here's Republican Senator Mike Lee, no, not that one, at the event, who subsequently tested positive.
We must point out that we didn't add that comedy music.
So just on coronavirus, who do you think's going to get it next? In the US sort of presidential world.
Oh, I see. Not
Yes.
Mrs. Watkins at number 23.
No.
It seems to be unfair.
very long
to
list.
suddenly pick on somebody,
Who's closest to Trump? Oh, Putin.
A bit of advice, I wouldn't go near Giuliani after looking at this.
Mayor, you heard Joe Biden there. He says if the scientists say it's okay, he is going to be up for the debate.
The reality is, when I hear that response, that Joe is going to listen to the experts.
But when you look at the polls,
Big
and I know that you know everybody questions the polls, but pretty consistently, Joe Biden outperforms the president. Mayor Giuliani, thank you so much for your time. We'll look forward to having you back. And I hope that cough is not anything bad where you're waiting for your test to come back. So we hope you're going to be healthy and well.
I hope so, too.
So once he was in hospital, what was Trump very keen to convey?
Strength,
Yeah.
fortitude, leadership.
Yeah.
That he wasn't in hospital.
Now, he also released a video from inside the hospital to prove how well he was doing. Someone on his team used some very efficient editing software to edit out a cough.
So many things have happened. If you look at the therapeutics, which I'm taking right now.
Can we go closer in? Let's go closer in. You get a really good idea. It looks like a hiccup, but actually it's a cough that they've edited out.
If you look at the therapeutics, which I'm taking right now.
Looks like the bleach is coming back up.
He said he was recently examined by a doctor and he said he was the perfect physical specimen. He just didn't say of what.
Why were the doctors criticised for some of their actions?
I mean, they weren't entirely clear about what they were saying. You know, they said they wouldn't answer questions. They said, have you examined his lungs? Yes. And what did you find? Oh, we found findings. But they wouldn't say what those findings were. You know, I don't know, a golf ball? I mean, I don't know. What did they find? And he says things like, the patient's reported no symptoms. Well, yeah, but what's your opinion? I feel great. Oh, yeah, well, that sounds good.
Yes, the doctor was criticised for giving misinformation about whether the president had received oxygen. In one briefing, the president's Dr. Sean Conley announced there was no cause for concern. And nothing says no cause for concern like bringing 10 other doctors along. It looks like they're about to do a dance routine on Britain's Got Talent.
Yes. Or a bowling alley with a bizarre medical team.
One looks like he's borrowed his, dad's doctor's uniform.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Biodiversity! What has Trump had a downer on this week?
Virtual debate. Because basically they proposed that the next debate between him and Biden should be done virtually, and he refused to do it. It's either in person or not at all.
Trump's not happy about it, tells Fox News, I'm not going to waste my time on a virtual debate. It's ridiculous. And then they cut you off whenever they want. Trump now says he's going to hold the rally at the same time instead.
Are we going to see any of the vice presidential?
Yes, I was going to ask you, who was the star of the show at the vice presidential debate on Thursday?
It was a fly that landed on Mike Pence's very sort of well hairsprayed hair, and it was everyone was so thrilled by what was going on that they were more interested in the fly.
One person labelled the fly an American hero. Let's have a look at this memorable picture from the night. People wondered why Mike Pence didn't just swat it. Presumably, he was worried it would lead to a massive rally by Black Lives Matter. And finally, how have raccoons been causing mayhem at the White House this week?
Chewing through some cables. That's what they normally do.
Are they staging pro-Trump rallies?
Apparently, over the last week, a raccoon has attacked multiple news crews on the North Lawn, at one point even grabbing the trouser leg of one photographer. CNN's Joe Johns took the law into his own hands this week. Let's see how he dealt with it.
No. What? Get! There he is. Ah! Now, no events on the president's schedule today.
He's a professional.
Excellent.
This is the news of Donald Trump's miraculous recovery from COVID. Anyway, I think we've said enough about Trump. Let's not give him the oxygen, said one of the doctors. Now on to round two, the randomiser of news. Fingers on Buzzer's teams.
This is a story about people changing their accents, depending on what company they keep. Some scientists have worked out that people do this, whereas we all know everyone does this.
Seems like an absurd idea. You really think there's anything in this?
Yes, of course there is, Gov.
What the hell was that?
That was the worst since Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Thank God for that.
I'm really terrible for the changing accents thing. If I'm somewhere for sort of 4 or 5 days, I immediately pick up the accent. And you can tell where I've been based on my accent. So when I go back home to North Wales, I talk a bit like this because everyone from North Wales has got quite like a quick speaking accent. And then I've lived in Manchester for 10 years, so I found myself being like, you what, mate? And then I work a lot down in London, so I end up sounding unhappy.
Absolutely right. After studying 39 12-minute conversations with people from a range of backgrounds, researchers noted increased activity in a part of the brain that has been developed in order to help humans identify and overcome bias and prejudice when communicating. Here's the Times' utterly unhelpful explanation. It means that those prone to dropping their T's may aim for something more like BBC English in mixed company, whereas the blue-blooded may tone it down around hoi polloi.
You know, amongst cabbies and workmen.
BBC.
Cup of tea.
What is BBC English?
Is it like, hello, welcome to the BBC?
That's it, yes, exactly.
Received English, RP.
Yes,
You know.
exactly, that's it.
The Queen's English.
Yeah, is she?
Yeah.
No, I don't know as well as you do, but I expect you've picked her up in your cab many a time. God blimey, God blimey, Elaine, it's back in the palace, is he?
Anyway, she's German.
In other news, what have young people been blamed for this week?
Nearly everything.
I'll give you a clue. You watching?
Yeah.
Oh, young people don't know how to ask for the bill. And also, here's a great one. If you were trying to say answer the phone or something, what mime would you do for phone? Yeah? Young people do this because the phone is completely different. They don't know what this is.
Yeah.
'Cause no one has a landline. So you just look mad.
Oh, but to be fair, though, Ian's mime for a phone would be...
That's a mime for something else where I'm from.
Absolutely true, Kerry. Not understanding hand gestures is what young people have been blamed for this week. According to linguistics professor Viv Evans, hand signs based on older technology are likely to become obsolete because they make no sense to young people. They don't understand because they never pay for it, do they? Which other hand signals are reportedly on their way out?
Oh, yes. Would you like to release a pigeon?
Apparently, this one. What's that?
It's the time.
Yeah.
It's on your phone.
Asking for the time. And also that.
Well, because no one has any cash anymore.
Yeah. In other money-related news, how did a lottery winner in Jamaica celebrate his recent surprise windfall? I mean, what would you do if you won $95 million? Wow. You know, he didn't want his friends or family to find out he'd won $95 million, so he picked up the cheque dressed like this.
But it's got his name on it.
So, yeah, he came dressed as Darth Vader, but now he's got a lot of people claiming he's their father. Time now for the Missing Words Round, which this week features as its guest publication Cloven Hoof, the newsletter of the Cornwall Goatkeepers Association. And we start with David Cameron was a regular what in the 80s?
Verb.
Reader of Goat Weekly, whatever it's called, Cloven Hoof.
Socialist Workers' Party rallies.
David Cameron was a regular on the acid rave scene in the 80s. This week, it was claimed that while a student, David Cameron liked attending rave events in Oxford. Of course, the worst Tory MP to have at a rave is Gavin Williamson. He'll tell you he's bringing a load of E's, and then at the last second, he'll give you an F. Next, I have fond memories of late nights in the goat barn. What?
It says Laughing Cow in new tell-all memoir.
Yes! Absolutely.
I wish it was that, but I'm afraid it's not. I have fond memories of late nights in the goat barn, waiting to meet new members of the herd. Next, the judge of this year's dairy class at the livestock show will be what?
On ketamine.
Is it Baroness Hale?
Via Zoom.
Will be on Zoom.
I'm sure that's what Nikki just said.
Oh, did you say? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
The judge of this year's dairy class at the livestock show will be Adrian Bull. Thanks to the judging of Adrian Bull, best in show pygmy was Ghislaine Mamba and reserve was Ghislaine Sprite, whilst the winner of worst in everything was Ghislaine Maxwell. Next, rare orange what after chance discovery?
President sacked.
Rare orange lobster rehomed after chance. And here it is. It's been nicknamed Donald, presumably because it's bright orange and you've got to steer clear of its hands. And finally, Madonna refused to work with what after he revealed what?
Madonna refused to work with Alan Titchmarsh after he revealed...
His onions.
After he revealed his onions, yeah. Worth a point, isn't it?
Madonna refused to work with DJ David Guetta after he revealed his star sign. David Guetta is a Scorpio and Madonna Leo, so as neither of them are Capricorns, this story was of zero interest to the editor of the Goat Keepers newsletter.
Not the only ones.
So the final scores are Ian and Kiri have 4, and Paul and Nikki have 4!
Very good.
So we got nothing. But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
Oh, Sebastian, I love the fact you're 9'9". I'll say it next week, no matter what the caption is.
Next.
Government announced new track and trace system.
Very good.
On which we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Kiri Pritchard-McLean, Paul Merton and Nikki Morgan. And I leave you with news that at Highgrove, amid rumours of marital strife, it looks like someone's sleeping in a chicken coop tonight. Recently issued publicity photos demonstrate the sheer unbridled joy of coming into work at the Home Office. And in London, there's embarrassment on a new celebrity version of Blind Date, as contestant number 1 struggles with the question, what's your name and where do you come from? Good night.
On what would have been the day of his 80th birthday, come together with BBC4 and celebrate John Lennon tonight at 10. Graham's guests include Ewan McGregor, Shirley Ballas and Ashley Banjo. Starry combo with our Mr. Norton at 10:45. Next on BBC One, it's Mrs. Brown's Boys.